All right, today we are going to be talking about translation. And a translation is a type of transformation. So in this unit, you're going to do 4 types of transformations. They are translations, reflections, rotations, and dilations. And I'm going to be making this flip book to teach you about the different types of transformations. If you would like to make one, I would highly suggest it. So I'm going to show you how to make this little flip book before we start. So this is just a regular size piece of paper. To start out, you're going to fold your regular size piece of paper like a hamburger way. Okay, so it's folded like this, and then you can unfold it. After you do that, you'll just have this one line right in the middle of your paper. Okay, you're going to take the shorter side of the paper and you're going to fold it into that middle line on one side. And then on the other side, you're going to take the short end of the paper and you're going to fold it in to the middle on the other side. So now you'll have something that looks like this. To finish off your flip book, you're going to fold the whole thing in half, hamburger way again, so that it looks like this, and then unfold it. After you have done that, you'll have a crease here and a crease here. And then you can just cut those into little flaps, and then you'll have a 4-flap flip book. All right, so let's get started with translations. So I'm going to write translations on the outside of my flip book. Okay, another word for translation is slide. So on the inside of my flip book, I'm going to go to the inside flap and I'm going to write slide right here. And then we're going to do an example up here on the top of the flap. So if I have a coordinate plane and I have a right triangle, it looks like this. If I was going to slide it over, maybe I slide it over here to the right, then the shape would now look like this. This is my second shape. Notice when you do a translation, the shape is still the same size. It's still facing the same direction. Everything about the shape is the same, except it's just slid over. Now, when we do translations, translations can slide left or right, and they can slide up and down. So, if we were going to write this in mathematical terms, here we have our x coordinate and our y coordinate. Remember that the x coordinate, or the x-axis, goes right and left. That's your horizontal line. And your y-axis goes up and down, your vertical line. So if we were going to move something on the x-axis, if we were going to move it to the left, you would have to subtract a number to go to the left. If you were going to move it to the right, you would have to add a number to go to the right. Okay, and then on the y-axis, if you were going to move something down, you would have to subtract it to go down, and you would have to add it to go up. Okay, so you're going to add your transformations to your ordered pairs in order to move something to the right or to the left or up or down. The rule for a translation will look like this. You always write xy first to tell us that we're starting with x, we're starting with y, and we're going to change them. Then you draw an arrow. This arrow means that you're going to be changing. So xy changes into x plus 2 and y minus 1. So based on our little key that we wrote up here, if we add 2 to the x-axis, that means that we're moving our shape 2 spaces to the right. And if we subtract 1 on the y-axis, that means we're moving our shape 1 space down. Okay, so I'm going to write that underneath. This means we're going right 2 spaces. And this one means we're going down 1 space. Okay, so now I'm going to do some examples in the book. So in the book, your first translation assignment is the page right after 69. So I'm going to go to the page right after 69. Okay, so the first section says, graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. And I'm also going to add that you need to write the rule. Okay, so let's write the rule first. Remember, we always start with xy changes into, if we're moving 3 units right, that's plus 3, because right is positive. So we're going to do x plus 3, and then 2 units down. Down is negative on the y-axis, so we would go y minus 2. So there's our rule. And if I was going to move this shape, I have to move all 3 dots of the triangle. So I'm going to start with R, and I'm going to go 3 units to the right and 2 units down. And then that's where my new R is going to be. Now, when it's a transformation of any type, on the second shape, you put this little apostrophe right after the letter. That's called prime. So this is my original shape, it's R. And here's my second shape, it's going to be R prime, S prime, and Q prime. That little parenthesis right after, or the prime symbol, tells you that's how many times the shape has moved. So right now, the shape has moved 1 time. It had 1 translation. It moved 3 units right and 2 down. So we're going to do the same thing with Q. We go 3 units right and 2 units down. And that would be Q prime. That's when it's moved 1 time, 1 translation. Okay, and S, we're going to go 3 units right and 2 units down. And here's my S prime. So now I can connect those 3. And we can see that this shape is still the same size. It's still facing the same direction. It's just slid 3 units to the right and 2 units down. Okay, I'm going to turn the page. And I'm going to look at number 9. This is a different section with some different rules. So I'm going to go over number 9. It says, write a rule to describe each transformation. Okay, remember, the first shape is the shape with normal letters. So Q, P, R, S. This must be the first shape. The second shape will have a prime after it. So here we have Q prime, R prime, S prime, P prime. This is our second shape. So I'm going to write number 1 in the first shape and number 2 in the second shape so I don't forget. Okay, and then we have to figure out how did this shape move and write our rule. So our rule always starts with XY and then an arrow. XY changes into. What happens to the Q? Let's see, the Q went 2 spaces to the left on the x-axis. So going to the left means I'm going to subtract 2. So I have x minus 2. And after the Q went 2 spaces to the left, it went 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces down. Down is subtraction as well, so I'm going to do x minus 2, which is 2 spaces to the left, and y minus 4, which is 4 spaces down. Now notice, I don't have to do that with every single point. I just had to do it for Q. Because if Q went 2 spaces to the left and 4 spaces down, P did the exact same thing, and so did R, and so did S. Let's turn the page again. Just 1 second. Yeah, turn the page, sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the next section, which starts with number 15. It says, graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. Okay, so these numbers, or these coordinate pairs right here, tell us where the first shape is. And then we have to find the second shape. Okay, so I'm going to draw the first shape on here. Remember, we go X and then Y. So on the X-axis, we go 0, and then we go -1 on the Y. That's where my E is. Okay, and then my F is go 1 on the X-axis, 2 on the Y-axis. G goes 5 on the X-axis, and 3 on the Y-axis. And H goes 2 on the X-axis and -2 on the Y-axis. So here's my first shape. Okay, and then we know that the shape needs to slide 3 units left and 2 units up. So we'll just take our dots and we go 3 units left and 2 units up, and there's my F prime. 3 units left and 2 units up. There's G prime. 3 units left and 2 units up. There's my E prime. And 3 units left and 2 units up. There's H prime. There's my second shape. Make sure that you're connecting all the right dots. Don't accidentally connect some of your new dots to your old dots. Okay, and turn the page one more time. Okay, this time you have to find the coordinates on the next section. Find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure after the transformation. So these vertices right here, this is the first shape. And then we have to use the rule to figure out the second shape. Okay, now remember, the rule we can write as xy changes into 2 units to the right would be x plus 2, and 1 unit down would be y minus 1. Okay, so if I didn't want to draw a picture of this, because notice there's no graph, then what I need to do is on every x coordinate, I'm just going to add 2. Okay, so v, instead of -5, I'm going to do x plus 2. -5 plus 2 is -3. On w, for my x coordinate, I'm going to add 2. -4 plus 2 is -2. And on my x coordinate, -2 plus 2 is 0. So using the rule or the equation that you wrote, you can find the new vertices without having to draw a picture. And don't forget, these are prime. We better mark those. So v prime, w prime, and x prime. Now we're going to do the same thing with y coordinates. So y minus 1. -1 minus 1 is -2. 4 minus 1 is 3. And -1 minus 1 is -2. So there you have all of your new coordinates for your translated shape.